So guys, today, after several months of use, I'm coming back with my ultimatum, or what I think of my use with the NYX Boots Ranger. So guys, as I've mentioned, I've had these Rangers for a little while, and I'm just going to try to look at them, see how beat up they are. No, these have not been washed or cleaned recently, so this is just how they look with all their scuffed up battle damage here. This isn't really bad, I will say. The camera does make it look a little bit worse, if it even really looks that bad. It's really just surface, as you can see. Like, you can almost just like kind of wipe it away. But this is just how they look. A lot of it's dirt. As you can see, the leather's a little dry right now. So I do need to take a little bit of time and clean them up, but I want to show you guys them as is condition, just so you guys can actually see these are being used, and that's how they are in condition. If you notice, I'm not, trying to make them look better than they are, or I didn't just wash them or anything. So for the past few months that I've had them, I have put a lot of miles, I believe around 30 miles on them. I have been purposely going out of my way to do a lot of hikes through all kinds of conditions, up hills, down hills, flat lands, mud, rain, dry, just to see how overall they fared. And like I said, you guys can see how they've fared. I think they've fared very well. I will say this rough out leather has handled the abuse very well. It still looks very new. I think there's one kind of deeper cut in here. I'm not even sure how it got there, but overall, this leather, this rough out, has been very impressive as far as its abrasion resistance and just overall its resistance to everything. I will say it's kind of worn off the mud that's gotten on there, but it does like to show mud very well. That's been the overall wear. Here's the back side of this roughed out. You guys can see there, this kind of darker area, and you'll notice this. If you go watch Wrangler Star's video, he'll note with the NYX, the harder wax like substance, you get kind of buildups that look like that, and that's because of the wax, and that is kind of a complaint of the NYX, I will say. But that's just the harder wax, and that's what I've been using on it, and that's what comes with the boots. I will talk about that a little bit later. All the fit, like I said, I put around 30 miles on these boots, and the fit has been very good, except for the first hike I took, and that was, I had the boots for, I think, like 6 days before that first hike, and in that first hike I put around 8 miles on them, and that was uphill and downhill. The uphill part was pretty good. The downhill was really hard on my feet, and it rubbed in right on my big toe, and my small toe got pretty bad calluses on the downhill side of it. But since that first hike, and that was really before the boots were fully broken in, and I was expecting to get some repercussions from that, just because, like I said, the boots were really new and they weren't fully set to my foot. But other than that hike, I haven't really had any problems with calluses or anything of that nature, and they broke in pretty well. I will say my left foot, or my left boot, was perfect from the start. My right foot, it was perfect as far as the foot goes, other than, of course, it had to break in a little bit. But other than that, right around my ankle was a little bit tight with lacing, and I noted for around the first month I had to be careful how tight I cranked down right around the ankle part. So from about here to here, I had to be careful how tight I cranked down the boot, because it would really hurt, and it would really rub my ankle until it was extremely painful. So that was one thing. Once again, that may not be your personal experience, just for the fact that these are so custom. That could also go back to maybe I didn't measure my feet exactly correct, because of course you do have to measure your feet in multiple different areas when having these boots made. So maybe that was a fault on my part, but I will say that was how it ended up. But like I said, the left side was absolutely perfect. There was nothing wrong with it at any time, other than, of course, I said, a little bit of break and wear on my toes. But other than that, like I said, the fit had been excellent, and after break-in, the fit is still really great. Of course. It's kind of loosened up with a little bit of that Kydex thing I was talking about. It's still very much there in the fact that you almost have to load a little bit of pressure to get your foot in, but once it's actually into this mold or really into this shoe, it's very locked in there, and your foot really feels extremely well placed, and there's no room in there whatsoever. And I guess I kind of want to take that back. There is a little bit of room in there just for different size socks. Like I tried out my thickest wool socks versus my thinnest socks, and everything seemed to fit just fine. But aside from there being that little bit of room for socks, I haven't noticed any toe slap in them. Once again, I did put quite a few miles on them, and so I would have really noticed any toe slap in there or your foot is hitting this brim, but it feels like the entire foot is locked down, and that is really helped or really achieved with this locking mechanism or this lacing mechanism. It works very well with the boot. To show you, this is what the underside of one of these boots, this is I think the right boot, is what it looks like after that around 30 miles. You can see, once again, this wear pattern is going to be a little bit different depending on how you walk and how your foot lands every time. But you can see this is how it's holding up. There is some texturing actually on this rubber, and on the front here, all of it is still intact. You can see, I'm not exactly sure because I'm kind of a little bit unfamiliar with welted boots. I think this is how they're supposed to work, but you guys can see how the stitching is worn here. That, like I said, I think is how they work. I mean, at least that's how it makes sense because this area is getting so much abrasion, but you guys can see in areas it's still holding up, especially back here, but this never really sees any use. But other than that area, most of them have broken away and become their own little individual holes. Once again, not sure how that works. And then you can see in the back, and once again, how I land my foot, I wear this area a lot, and you guys can see there's that stippling that I was talking about, that texturing is all, it looks darker on the camera, so wherever that is texturing, and then this is all smooth right here. Once again, that is not necessarily something problematic with the boot per se, but rather how I land the boot. And once again, very similar on this side. This side's actually holding up a little bit better with the stitching, but either way, that's what it looks like. Once again, very similar. You can see they really, one thing I do like about this texture pattern is it really does not hold on to a lot of garbage. Once again, these are uncleaned. I just literally took them off for the review. I've been wearing them for months. So they really don't hold that much garbage, and I found, unfortunately, when I got them, I wasn't really able to put on a whole lot of snow miles, but I was able to test them out limitedly in snow and ice, and I found that they held their traction pretty well in snow and ice, and once again, not being or getting cluttered up. That was one problem that I found with the Danner zigzag trail boots that I used to use. The X patterns were awesome and they were really deep, but they also would fill in with a lot of garbage, especially in the winter when you got into mud, dirt, and kind of debris. It would kind of clog up that traction, and so it really was not as good as you might think. So that is kind of how the overall, the fitment and the durability. I'll once again give you guys a look at these boots. If you notice if there are any particularly dry spots, that is because, like I said, I have not oiled these up or put any Obanoffs on it, and I have not cleaned them in probably like a month and a half, so they are still showing wear. You guys can see this is the, of course, false tongue. It's doing a very good job at protecting this area. This other one here, so you guys can see they're holding up very well, and that's what they look like. So overall, my thoughts are very high on it. I still am not a huge fan of the deliverability time. I kind of forgot about that with the fact of how awesome the boots are. They are really great, but I still have to take into account the fact that it took around 6 months for them to make and do everything for me to place the order to actually having the finished pair in hand was a little over 6 months, and that was definitely unfortunate. Once again, I really wanted to test them out over the winter, and so I could get some snow miles on them. But unfortunately, like I said, they came pretty much once all the snow was gone. Still not a huge fan of how long it took, but they did eventually get here, and they are great. As I mentioned in the first impressions, when they sent me the test boots, I noticed this area right here was a little high for my personal tastes, and so I had them take it down about, I think, roughly an inch, and it's been really noticeable and very comfortable. I've really enjoyed not having a high arch on that. I really dislike high arched boots. In the way I personally walk, it creates a lot of slap. When I set the front part of my foot down, it usually slaps, and so I really do dislike that. But they were able to take that inch off of there, and that has been really nice. Overall, they've been really great boots. My one complaint with them is this right here, and you guys can notice, and maybe it's just for the fact that this is the shortest, I don't even know what you call this anymore, but this upper piece here, this is the shortest. This is an 8-inch, and this is the shortest configuration you can have it in. But I've noticed this on my pants, where they sit. Generally, when I go to sit down, my pants will go just up to this, and even if they go to like right here, somehow, some way, they always end up getting on this side of this boot, and they always end up getting caught right here because this sticks up so high. It'll get caught like this, and so I find myself having to manually take that off of there, and I really dislike that. Not only does it look really bad if your pant does get caught up here, but it's kind of an annoying fix, and I really, really dislike these I guess poles. I don't even really know what to call them, but I rarely use these on boots, in all honesty. So these have been a very large hassle. I would recommend, if you don't plan on using these in your time, to ask Nix to just not have this on here, especially if you're getting an 8-inch or shorter. The problem I don't think would be as drastic if you had something longer, or if you just had really long pants. It wouldn't be as drastic, but I think this mixture of this being low and my pants being right, properly sized, it just makes it that way. And like I said, that happens with both of these boots, and it's just a little bit of an annoyance factor. It's nothing huge. I don't really notice it generally when I'm walking, but that's just something to take into consideration, and really the only major problem I've had. So overall, I really do like this design of the Rangers. I think it's a really nice, kind of what I would call really nice medium, and what I mean is there are two different primary types of boots that Nix does. One is like the Fire Troopers, and the other is like the Robert boot. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just go look those two up, and you'll notice the Robert boot is a really dress shoe, and the Fire Trooper is a very dedicated outdoors boot, and I think the Ranger is a really great medium between them, and that's really what I was going for when I got these. I wanted boots that I could wear in semi-formal situations and not look completely out of whack, and also have a really capable, light, agile boot for the woods. And I really think these Rangers, or this style of Ranger, is a really good. I think the Ranger style is a good kind of medium. Like I said, it goes really between both of them. It's not so bulky and large. That's a great outdoors boot, and it's not so it doesn't make any sense in a formal or semi-formal situation, but it also is capable enough and has enough traction and build to easily go out in the woods and not look out of place there either. So this is really my favorite style. If I was getting another pair of Nix boots, I would probably get Fire Troopers, just because up here in Alaska there's not that many formal events, so it's not as necessary to have really formal shoes. But these, certainly, if you're thinking about getting a pair of Nix boots, not only are these generally the most affordable, depending on how you have them modified. But not only these the most affordable, they are also really good medium between formal and outdoors, and so I've really been impressed with them. I do like them, and like I said, my real only two complaints are just the fact that the shipping was very expensive and it took way longer than it should have, and these boot poles. Those are really the only two complaints, and that's really my overall thoughts on the NYX Boots Rangers. Thank you for watching. I'm out.